All right, you guys. This is Quan Michael. This is the Savage Mountain Podcast, and this is Jim Davis. His mama call him James. We may call him James only if he allow us, but he is also the chief of staff here at this fine establishment that is Neo Life PT. Also, Neo Golf is popping off today. Also, we have Neo Fit. It's a whole Neo verse. It's we're demonstrating the ability to galvanize the masses and come as one as a community. Jim, to start things off, I have high appreciation for you and your story. You've told me snippets of it, but me and my executive producer, Batchy, we have come to know you very well. Could you give the world an introduction to you?
How far back do you want me to go?
Oh man, whatever you deem necessary, my friend.
See, my mom and dad, they loved each other very much.
Yeah.
That far back, are we going?
No, not the sycamore tree.
I was a Biloxi firefighter for 28 years. I ended my career there as a battalion chief. I retired, took a job, and 9 days after taking that job, that world exploded. That's a whole story for itself, but my hands were clean of what happened, and thank God. I went into hiding for about a year. I started managing an insurance company from my house. They scooped me up the day everything ended with the other job. Let me go home, which turned out to be a godsend. It was what I needed. I needed to be away from everybody for a little while. But the thing about it is okay, I'm good. I'm at home. You know, this is where I need to be. This is my kingdom now. Well, then I start only working out at home. I won't go anywhere. The only place I go is take my kids to school, pick them up. So then to start walking in circles, literally in my house. I think it's time to work out, insurance work, clean the house, cook dinner, have everything done by the time to get home. Well, that started feeling like a trap, like a circle. Like this is my wings are bigger than this. But I'm like, no, you're not. This is what you are. This is who you are.
Yeah.
So over the back up 11 years, and I had pushed martial arts out of my life. I thought it was the thing that was making me dark, and it wasn't. The fire service actually was. The things that we see in the fire service can wear us down, you know, put us in a place that separates us from the rest of the world. So instead of doing what deep down I knew was right, let's exclude martial arts. That's what's messing you up. You can control that world. You're training 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So let's eliminate that. You know, let's don't be an athlete anymore.
Okay.
So we go full-blown fire service, which, you know, the spiral of seeing the things that we see, you know, you talk about it, but you don't really talk about it. You know, it just starts wearing you down. So fast forward back into my monk mode where I'm by myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm starting to come out of it. I'm starting to feel a little bit better, but very cautious of people. I don't trust anybody. Well, over the years, numerous people had called me to, you know, train martial arts again, do different things. And, you know, I'm like, they don't need me. I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Yes, well, then Alan Belcher calls me, ruined my Christmas vacation.
Uh-oh.
And he says, I'm sitting at Sonic picking up food for my kids. And my oldest son was sitting with me, who had gotten me back on the mat a little bit at this point in time. I was playing, you know, just with some younger guys. You know, nobody's really going to challenge me. I'm happy. Everything's good. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going anywhere. Well, Alan calls me, and I answered it, and he says, I need you in a training camp. And I was like, you don't need me. I'm rusty. You know, I'm old. He's like, I need you. And I said, okay. So I go home, and I tell my wife that he had called me. She's heard me tell this story probably 100 times at this point. You know, I just say no all the time.
Yeah.
And I said, I told him I'd do it. And she said, really? And I said, yeah, but we're going to train in my garage because I'm not leaving my house. I'm not doing that. That's my safety zone.
Yes,
you know, I'm going to lift weights right there. We're going to roll on that mat, and I'm not going anywhere. So I don't know if Robbie and Alan actually had a conscious plan.
Yeah.
But me and Alan trained by ourselves a couple of times, and of course the text message comes through. Can I bring Robbie with me? And I'm like, again, I was like, Robbie Lawler. I don't know, who's with Alan. Whatever. Bring Robbie with you. You know. So I'm sitting on the front porch, and this guy pulls up in a little Jeep, you know, with his little chains and his vest and his hat, and he gets out. I work for Neo Life. Great. What is that? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
But he sits in there and watches me and Alan, you know, roll on a mat and have a good time. And what actually started mine and Robbie's friendship was he forgot his sunglasses at my house that day.
Yeah.
and calls me and says, Alan gave me my number, and he asked me first because Alan knew how cautious I was of people. Can I give Robbie your number? He left his sunglasses. Well, he comes back, and it was like almost instantly, I don't know, I know he's the doctor and all that, but it's almost instantly like a little brother to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's how he connected with me that fast. Mm-hmm. Well, systematically over the next several months, hey, why don't you come to yoga? Okay, I'll go to yoga. Why don't you come to this training? Next thing I know, I'm driving to Alabama on a Saturday morning for wrestling, striking, and jiu-jitsu seminars, and, where Alan's the feature, instructor and all this stuff. And then there's like all kind of field nurse is at my house while Alan's training, and, then I'm in my American Top Team training, and then one thing leads to the other. I meet Batchy, and he's, degrading me behind the camera constantly. That's not true.
That's false.
Yeah.
That's on record.
That's
Executive producer will not do such.
the voice that out. The voice is in my head.
That's my guy.
But anyways, I don't think because of this story. I know that's only pieces of the story. I can go into a lot more details, but point being, I don't believe in coincidence, and I really haven't for a long time. I'm not blaming an institution or an organization for the condition that I was in. I'm blaming myself for not breaking out of the chains, for not allowing myself to become who I actually am. And that's what Robbie and Alan systematically did. I don't think it was truly intentional in the beginning, but I think they realized that I was something more than what I was allowing myself to be. And I back up to the beginning of my fire service career, and a couple of teachers told me, "You're bigger than this. You're better." I'm like, I'm a firefighter. Come on, man. That's an admirable job. Mm-hmm. And not putting myself on any kind of pedestal, but you get to the other side of this thing, and now I realize I'm not better than them. I'm not bigger than them. But there's other things that I had talents to do that I was suppressing because I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
And we do that to ourselves. We don't. And you two have not realized your potential yet. You know, and I see there's such a light in both of you guys. Yeah. And it's going to grow when you allow it to. You're suppressing yourself because you don't believe in yourself. You can tell me all day that you do, but you don't yet. Yeah. There's little tiny, snippets of words that you say to me make me realize, okay, we still got work to do. We still got things that we can do here. But the journey with these guys really ignited in a moment that can I share like the most significant moment in the entire journey?
This is what we is what we're here for, bro. This is
the most significant. Me and Alan have known each other for probably 15 or 20 years.
And Alan being Alan Belcher, who is a friend of the show.
Right.
Like and subscribe. Okay, carry on.
So Alan, our paths continued to cross. There was one point in time many years ago where we were in the cage together on pay-per-view, not against each other. He was giving out, I think, fight of the night. I was giving out submission of the night, and we were so both arrogant that we didn't even speak to each other. You know what I'm saying? It was not, we weren't enemies. It were just, he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing. I'm not talking to you, he's not talking to me. Fast forward, I leave the martial arts world. I'm his son's Boy Scout troop master, so. And, there's another connections. We talked and we knew each other. Then I was his little boy's football coach. Yeah. Then we're at parties to get like kids' parties. Mm-hmm. But what's funny about it is we don't fit the normal mold of humans. Yeah. So, I've seen a bunch of stuff. He's seen a bunch of stuff. We've been through different things. And it's not like we're better, worse. We're just different. We're the two that would drift off to the side of all conversations and just end up talking about randomness, life. Working out, martial art, whatever it was. We're by ourselves. We end up by ourselves. Of course, we would get the silly text messages because he's 7 feet taller than I am. He looks like, the exclamation point and the period standing over there, but whatever. Mm-hmm. So, that's how that would go for the next several years. But so he calls me, and then one night he says, I want you to come over and get in the sweat tent with me, you know. And this is some behind the scenes stuff that I think people need to realize. There are true moments that are pivotal in your life that change the trajectory of what's happening with you or inside of you. So I've got these walls, right? Very defensive, very protective. Like, ask Brittany, who used to do our yoga. It took Brittany 6 months to get a sentence out of me. And you saw some of that happen where I wouldn't talk. I think I've started seeing you a little bit after I was starting to open up a little bit. But he said, I want you to come over and get in the sweat tent with me. I'm like, cool. I don't know what that is, but let's do it, So I'll find out it's just basically a sauna that's way stronger, and it's really a full-blown experience, right? So I get there, and he wanted me to bring my son with me, and some of the sea wolves were supposed to be with us. And it turns out the sea wolves had something to do. One of the other guys had to get a tattoo, and Cole ended up having to record somebody. So it ended up just being me and Alan. Now, we're close enough to be okay by ourselves at this point, but we ain't. We're not, like, super close friends.
Yeah.
We're acquaintances. I would say he's a friend. Alan's that guy. But he was like, okay, this is how it was supposed to be tonight. Because you couldn't have aligned all the things that happened to make us be by ourselves that night. But it was meant to be. Hey. So I'm nervous, but I'm like, you know what? I've been a firefighter for a long time. That heat tent ain't going to be nothing. Whatever.
Yeah, you got this.
We're good. We're good. So we get in there, and it gets real hot real fast. Now, the difference between being in there as opposed to a fire, the fires are way hotter than this tent. But inside a house fire, we're breathing cold air off an SCBA into our face. So the cold air I'm breathing in, it's keeping my temperature down a little bit. And here, you're breathing pure heat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not going to show that I'm hurting, and I'm fidgeting. I'm like, we're in here for a long time. And I'm like, I said, Alan, how long we been in here, man? I think we like 20, 30 minutes. And I said, how much longer are we going to be in here? And he said, like 3 more minutes. Well, y'all, that's the longest 3 minutes of my life. I felt like it was another 45 minutes. I was on my face trying to pull air out the floor. There was no air in that floor, by the way. I'm like, I'm not saying I'm dying, but it's happening. Like, I feel like the world is ending right now, and he's over there just talking. He's being Alan. He's like, he's done this before, and I'm not going to admit that I'm dying, but I'm like, bro, we got to get out of this tent. So it's March. We get out of the tent. And he says it's time to get out. I'm telling you, I probably look like a jackrabbit coming out of that thing. Yeah. It's cold outside that night, and I'm happy about it. Yes. I'm happy it's cold. He's like, let's go get in the river. I'm like, I will throw myself from here into the river, into the cold, into the dark.
Bless, dude.
So by the time we get down there, I'm cold. I'm drained. We get in the water. And I said, Alan, how long are we going to be in here? He said, till we start shivering. I said, bro, I'm shivering right now. My voice is shaking. He said, 3 minutes. Again, it's the longest 3 minutes of my life.
God.
So he said, we need to get back in the tent. Well, remember how hot I was before. Now I'm so cold that the tent sounds like the best place on earth. Please take me back to the tent.
Extreme to extreme.
Yeah, let's go back to the tent right now.
Dang it, man.
So we go up there, and I'm drained. This is where submissions happened. As men, we have these. We have in the firefighter persona as well. We're not human. We're superhuman. You have to be a man. You're strong. You can't show weaknesses and all these things. You know? So let me tell you something. After that first 30 minutes in a tent, I was weak as you could be. Damn. There's no inhibitions. You could have asked me to tell you what I did in the first grade to my coloring box that I shouldn't have done. I probably would have confessed to it right then. Everything's coming out, right? So I made a mark outside the line when I was 2. So anyway, in this time, I just go in there and I'm laying on the floor. And Alan, at this point in time, tells me, I have something to tell you. Yeah. And it scared me and it was a learning moment for me because in the fire service, when somebody has something to tell you, it's bad. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's been killed or has cancer or, because there's a lot of cancer connected to what we do, because of the carcinogens that were around. As much as we try to prevent it, it happens. I've got several of my brothers that are dying from cancer right now. And so instantly a shockwave runs through me. I'm like, great. He's going to tell me this is his last fight. He's dying or something. He said, I have a message that was delivered to me at the gym. And I thought it was for the group tomorrow night. I thought it was for the group today. But I realized this message is for you. And I'm like, oh, man. Because I'm very spiritual. I believe we're all connected. No coincidences. I'm like, he's fixing to deliver the death blow to me now. Like, I've done something wrong that I don't know about. So he said, put your left hand on the floor and put your right hand on the floor and just hold still and listen. He said, everything on your left is everything behind you. Your mistakes, the people that hurt you, everything that's happened is over there. Yeah. And he said, right here in the middle is where we are right now. And this you're okay. and everything to the right is our future, your future, and you're safe. And I didn't even have words. You know what I'm saying? Because it hit me so deeply.
Yeah.
I tried to speak and I couldn't. You know, of course, the conversations between him and I after that, those couple of minutes thereafter, that's private. That's between me and him. But that moment was so pivotal, I can still feel it. You know, this is almost a year ago coming up. I could still feel everything that happened. I can feel every emotion that I let go of in that moment. I can feel myself coming back to life. Well, here's where it got weird. I remember getting in my truck. I don't remember driving home because I don't know what happened. I remember pulling up at my house and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, how did I get here? Apparently, my truck is one of them autopilot things. It drove itself home. It knew how to get there. You know, I didn't have no tickets. I didn't hit nobody.
Yeah.
But apparently, I drove safe. I must have just been in deep thought or whatever. And I walked inside. It's where my wife is my rock. My wife's my rock star. She looks at me in the face and says, she asked a funny question. She said, "Have you been smoking weed?" And I said, "No, ma'am." She didn't ask another question. She said, "Go get a shower."
Yeah.
And she knew exactly what Jim needed in that moment was not to say anything.
Yeah.
She said, "Just lay down, let me hold you." Because I'm super affectionate. She knows that. She knows that her touch is very healing to me. Just all she's got to do is hold me.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed because I needed to finish processing what happened. Of course, the next morning, you know, I let her know what happened. But that moment is when I realized that I wasn't damaged goods.
Yeah.
I had a lot more life to live and that I had been blessed with a 28-year career where hopefully I had helped at least one person during that time. You know what I'm saying? I did my time. I served my time. But that chapter of my life was over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And will I always be a firefighter? Yeah. Deep down, you know, if something happens around me, I'm going to take care of it. But my need or desire to do it in a professional setting had been, it was closed. It was over with. And that's what I needed.
So with that, and that's beautiful story, man. Some people could yap and like, they can hijack a conversation and it's just like, it could dub that line of unnecessary. But that right there, man, that was beautiful. It was authentic and it came from the heart. So I appreciate you sharing that for sure. But also, typically people would say fighters or folks that engage in a combat sport life feel that from the outside perspective, that the violence of that, the nature of that sport could consume you. You say it did not.
No, I tell you what can consume you in the combat sports world is your desire to dominate the entire sport. Okay. And that's where I needed to step away from the sport to reevaluate myself. Okay. But I wasn't perfect. I was arrogant. I was mean. I made my own mistakes. I own them. You know what I'm saying? For being the way I was.
Yeah.
But if you look at what martial arts actually is, it's an art. Yeah. And it's a way of life that should be, you know, it should be peaceful. It should be training for your mind and your body, you know, and you should be trained to the point where you're not gonna fight somebody. You know, it's typically harder to provoke one of us to fight in the street than it would be just your average person.
Yeah.
We've got nothing to prove. I don't have anything to prove to you or anybody outside. When we step onto a mat at this point in my training, I'm there because I want to be the best training partner I can be. Yeah. You know, I want to be there for them. And I think I've demonstrated that to you about 1,000 times at this point.
You and Bilbo.
It's
and
fun to
and
watch,
even Alan too, is like, y'all have a certain level of peace and calmness and it's like y'all are absolute badasses. And like the warrior, whenever you say the term warrior, you think of this visceral, this aggressive, like, you know, like that. But it's like, it's a whole different persona in regards to how you take that word warrior, the way that y'all engage and conduct business on a day-to-day basis. Like, nah, man, just like a good king is prepared for war. Right. It's not seeking war.
Right.
You know, and I think y'all embody that phrase more than I've ever seen. And it's like, and it's not a age that will determine you to get that to me. Because like Bilbo graduated in 17.
Mm-hmm.
You have a 17-year-old, 21-year-old,
right,
you know?
right.
And then Alan's right there, like the middle child just about, is like three different individuals that have that certain level of peace and calmness. And it's just like, it's like a gentle, giant, I don't know. I'm a fan of it. But as we progress on, one thing I want to show, and this is what you've demonstrated. So I know we're coming short on time.
You're good. I mean,
but you spoke about your wife, and this is, I don't know if I'm disclosing too much, but I am in an interracial relationship, and I love the impact of interracial awesomeness. I consider it a boundless love. It's a love that's, I mean, like you just can't describe in that sense. And the way that you speak about your wife and her touch, I always tell my wife, I thought I was like the only one. I'm like, man, I don't know, like you touching me just gives, like, it heals me. And that, and for you to say right. that, I'm like, that's just like me. So, as a leader of men and also being in a combat sport, how impactful is it to be not one to have a wife that understands you and that's your better half, but also one that's from a different culture in which that we've been conditioned to be.
Okay, so let me simplify that for you with her. It's easy. She doesn't like violence. She doesn't like combat sports at all.
Yeah.
I mean, at all. But she understands that I had to accept that I am an athlete. That's what I am. And she accepts that. She accepts that I need the sport to balance me.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really matter how old I am or how high my talent level is at any point. It's therapy. You know, we were talking about it the other day. She gets the fact that if I wasn't doing this and training with Robbie and Alan and you, that I would probably be on some kind of medication or having to go to therapy all the time. So it's really an all-in-one, care package. You know, other people might need different things. They need their walk. They need their coffee. I have to fight.
Yeah.
You know, so... But I want to say one more thing that I need to add in here, and you might have more questions for me. But the more I submitted to God, you know, and I'm not a big church goer. I'm not even going to sit here and say I'm religious, because religion to me is doing something all the time. Submitting to what I actually am, what He created me to be.
Yes.
For the longest time, I pushed it away. I put it on the back burner. And I'm not saying He's punishing me or did punish me, but He allowed my body to deteriorate. I lost things. I lost some speed. I lost agility. I lost some strength. But what have you seen over the last year? The more I've submitted, the stronger I've gotten, the faster I've gotten. It's like my body has regressed in age, and you've gotten to watch it firsthand, and He got to watch a little more of it than you. And it's no way, shape, form, or bragging, but every day I think, okay, this is the limit of what you can do because of your age. But then I get proven wrong again. Like, there's more mobility. There's more things happening. So what I'm saying, if we just submit to what we are and use it to be a light, you'll be rewarded. You know, I'm not doing it for the rewards, because every day I'm like, okay, this is the last day I can do this. You know, what happens next? But every day there's more trust built in me that it's not the end. You know?
I second that tenfold. It's all about, like, being a conduit for a higher power, and again, like, showing that trust and faith, because that faith is believing without seeing or whatnot, believing the unseen in a sense. Last one, last phrase, and this is for you. This is the coach I want to speak to. Because we're in an era in the past, they had these in the four with the Maranoviches and other high level athletes, where hovering parents that coach their kids ultimately led to their demise. Now we're in the golden era where the Ball brothers, Stephen Curry, Tiger Woods is that here, but he's one of the positives of it, where parents start the drive, and Deion Sanders now starts the drive for their kids, coaching them, pushing them through, and then eventually the kid take the onus on and kind of propels it on to the next one. But it starts with the father, the parents' love for the sport, and kind of living through their kid and pushing them, allowing them to do that. How does it feel to see that ignited in your kid, but then also have to deal with it when you relinquish that, that you have the coaching reins and you pass it off to another coach and they ultimately fumble the bag.
You ask him, what's it feel like to have somebody fumble it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's painful. It's painful.
Because that's your kid.
I've seen it. I've witnessed it, and I've witnessed my child hate a sport that he loved because of the way it was handled.
Yeah.
Now, my coaching style with him, my oldest one, he's a phenomenal athlete, but it was different coaching him. It was almost too easy. I was almost spoiled. I'd be like, how did you get him to do that? I asked him one question. You want to sit on the bench or do you want to play? And his answer was, I'm never sitting on the bench. I said, then here's the formula. Come get it. Yeah. I didn't have to ask him to train. I didn't have to tell him to train.
Yeah.
That's just who he is. You know what I'm saying? So he spoiled me. I have people come to me all the time. Yeah, I can give you the same formula, but it's got to come from within. They have to want.
Yeah.
And he wanted. And he hasn't stopped wanting.
There we go. All right. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. I'll leave you with this. And that is, what is violence if not grief persevering?
Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, y'all.
You.
All right. See y'all next Thursday. This has been the Savage Mountain Podcast.